Hello there, commanders, and welcome to another 10v10 battle. Today we have SUNTZU versus Statidras Draconistrarum on Gergovia. We have tier 6, full 10v10, full pre-made. It's going to be awesome. So let's disable the fog of war to see what both teams are up to. SUNTZU seem to be sending quite a large push towards the left flank. Quo has already grabbed the watchtower on the far left, spotting at least the Foxman here and those swords down there. So the Draconistrarum are sending quite a large force towards C, at least 4 or 5 players, and then they're also sending quite a substantial force on their left flank, trying to attack into D. But D already has been prepared with defenses. We have Cheddar putting up stakes and Max blocking off those narrow passages with his pikes. So they're definitely set very well for the defense, although the enemies have dogs that ignore both stakes and pike phalanx, but they don't ignore being stricken by shield bashes and cheddar swords. Here we have Archeon with his javelins already harassing down some enemies, sending them down to just half HP, even though they have access to the pseudo. And now this Draconistrarum is retreating and sending some reinforcements away from C into the defense of B, but they hold quite a firm hold over C with 90 seconds until it unlocks. Militant here sending his dogs, well, not sending his dogs yet, but preparing to do so. There we go, getting into a position, and he sends them against pikes of Max. But the Hannibal spear blob is retreating. It's retreating towards C, trying to get in some position. Mishet and Mistru try to climb up there, but they're being stopped by dogs. They're already caught in quite a bad position. That is quite a big mistake of them. But SUNTZU is pushing in here. There's another huge Hannibal blob in here, going from Hannibal spears to Hannibal spears on 2 flanks. Archeon is cutting this guy down with his volley of javelins, array of javelins, but not before this Hannibal takes out quite a lot of enemies as well. He's being nerfed by Inside Defection, but he is being buffed by Rebellion as well. So it's basically a tug of war between all those various buffs. But Foxmen are pretty good counter to them with their hamstring. If they cannot really push through at minus 80% speed, they can't really do their damage. And that's well placed there. And also, given that it's such a narrow passage, blobbed up spears really do well in here. Quo has snuck his way around and is going to strike and maybe pick up some units that were routing. In the meantime, Mishu is recalling back to base after the attack at C failed, and so there's the Draconistrarum seem to be posed, or not seem to be, are posed to get C pretty much for free, although they have assigned quite a large force. Their attack on D has mostly failed, has been thwarted by efforts of Cheddar and Max, but SUNTZU's push, on the other hand, also didn't really come to fruition yet. They did manage to kill quite a significant amount of forces in here, but most of those units are already retreating and healing up. Let's see if Quo can get here in time and prevent them from healing. Stakes are in his way. They're being deployed in 2 different directions, but he comes from the 3rd direction and he's going to get there in time, flanking. Ooh, maybe charging a little bit too far there. And now these soldiers will just impale themselves as they go back. But what's the most important thing is that elephants, javelins and infantry is coming out of B, as many infantry units are trying to heal, while they obviously won't be able to do so. Who is now going to put another unit of cavalry there. Pope can also put his elephants there, but as much as they can prevent healing, they can prevent spawning, and here it goes. 2 fractions of spears, one of them getting kind of stuck, but 2 managed to pull through, and now they will be buying time. And elephants, as much as they want to charge and push them back, they cannot do much. Down, they need to be quickly camped down by those Foxmen. C, still not being really fought for, and same for D, really. It's just light skirmishes here and there, but Max is being find the shade, doesn't really give a shit. So it all comes down to B, whether SUNTZU can capture it or not. Archeon is getting into position to attack the Germanicus swordsman pulling through. They're not suffering that much damage. Now Fixen is charging out with his Hasdrubal spearman, trying to keep them away. A short disconnection here, but it was not a total disconnection, so it's all fine. Now BB's two last units are about to be routed, but Espada is pulling through. Parthenon is being set against him. He has 3 hamstrings, so that's 24 seconds of minus 80% speed. All they need to do is get rid of this Germanicus, just quickly kill him, even if he calls friendly fire. It's exactly what Arkin is doing. Drop him below 10 soldiers, and then he routes. BB still not routed, and Espada not stopped by Parthenon's forces. He is hamstrung, but was it enough? I don't know. No, it wasn't enough, but did he use all of it? That's what I don't know. And eventually, Quo's cavalry and other forces that were trying to stop the healing and respawning of the enemies, well, they run out of health, and SUNTZU is running out of steam. We are sending reinforcements here. I am here with my archers. Fixen is arriving with his Hasbro spearmen, that they're going to be stopped by its counterpart. Was going to pick up some innocent dogs that were left alone. And let's see, Mished is sneaking up on C, but obviously there's nothing really he can look here for. He has Testudo in case he wants to tank those crossbowmen, but there's not much more he can do in the meantime. Here, SUNTZU are pushing through the stakes and managed to rout one of Cheddar's units. Max isn't in good health either. Now he's entering pike phalanx, but the crossbows are nowhere near to really capitalize on it, so he should be fine. Here, Scorcher is being used to burn down the stakes, and also Cheddar is just stacking here with his Fortify. So he took quite a lot of damage there, and hopefully Max doesn't friendly fire him. He's just in front of the shade there, so it's fine. He should be, both of them should be really starting to retreat and heal those units up, as the rest of them just delays the enemy advance. And well, the attack on B has also been thwarted, so still advantage to SUNTZU round. They just took C at the beginning, and neither team able to capture the opposite side's side point. SUNTZU unable to capture B, and SUNTZU round unable to capture D. Now let's see if the attack on D is progressing. Cheddar and Max are retreating their forces, well, only Cheddar so far, retreating his forces to heal up at D. Max's third unit placed here in the center, and well, both he and Mished can just tank those javelins for days, given that Mished actually uses his Testudo, which he isn't. Yeah, sure. And now there's the Commissarium, with all the forces that they have healed up and respawn over at B. Now they will be pushing forward. They might just reinforce C, they might look for a counter-attack onto E. They should getting in a position with Fire in the Shade, from the shadows. There we go, getting them some good hits on Blinton, but that will not really amount to much. Arkinon finding some good javelin shots onto Jalif's crossbowmen. It is quite difficult to get vision up there, but you should be able to see them on the ledge. Now Max and Cheddar almost full healed up, so they should be more than fine in here, and SUNTZU is retreating. For now, we have some sort of a stalemate that is in favor of SUNTZU, as both teams are regrouping and entering the second phase of the battle. In the meantime, small skirmishes here and there, eliminating some pike units here in the center with Arkin's javelin and Mished's infantry, but it's not getting, it's not being done for free. And well, as long as at least one unit survives, they can be summoned back very, very quickly. And yes, one unit got wrecked, the other one has 2 soldiers left in it. But they will just go back and heal, and they'll be back here in time to defend before a bigger push comes in. So SUNTZU will not be able to capitalize much on it. Now Quo is sneaking up with his cavalry on top of the fort, searching for those crossbowmen. Maybe they are unprotected, and well, we see that they are. Quo doesn't really know that, and they are somewhat protected, but they're quite out of position. And as long as he finds a good charge, that should allow Mishru's archers and Arkinon's javelin to approach. But yeah, they both have, well, it's okay, Mishru didn't lose much, but Arkinon has lost quite a bit of his soldiers, so his firepower is quite diminished. Quo grabs the watchtower, and what he sees is just an absolute wave after wave of infantry that is going to reinforce C. So capturing that at the moment is not really an option. So he has the in the control of the watchtower on their right side of the battlefield, and they will be seeing any SUNTZU advances coming B's way. For now, SUNTZU is heavily investing into C. There is also some sort of push coming into A, but Quo's cavalry has been stopped, hasn't entered off, and is just being gobbled down, or maybe gobbled up, by Hannibal Blobbed Spearmen. An incredibly powerful tactic. Well, if you don't like it, take it up to the developers, I guess. And now we have Max's pikes that are able to counter it, and that is his best environment. Narrow passage, doesn't matter the numbers advantage of the enemy. Their pikes, they have longer weapons. What are you gonna do? Well, you have to run away in such a scenario. But here we have an avenue through which a flanking attack could be launched, so Max can't really push past that, as he's going to be harassed down by some scorched air flames being thrown down at him. But that doesn't really matter, doesn't deal that much damage as long as he just pulls through quite quickly. A pike phalanx being used against Pardenham's forces here, and also Arkinon's javelin being caught up in here. Elephants need to turn around, and as much as Mistru is helping with his archers and helping doing friendly fire, that doesn't really amount to much either. And joining us with Find the Shade, with pikes, being buffed and supported by all sorts of stuff, is really quite an unmovable force. Now Hannibal Spearmen bobbed up against elephants, and those are Hazardable elephants, not Hannibal elephants, which is quite interesting. So they'll have better survivability, but significantly less damage. All they can do is just disrupting the enemy formation. And at the moment, they are just going down very, very quickly against those Hannibal Spearmen, which is to be expected. Quite some damage has been dealt to those crossbows. They will need to retreat, but the healing zone is right there. Max still with his spikes in here. Oh, he has been caught out with his phalanx up, not down, which is not always what you are supposed to be. Chadar getting in a position, he can save Max with his fortify, he can hold off these forces for quite a while, but Max needs to get back and heal up his forces. Chadar is camping down here for no reason, so that may open an opportunity for Draconic Storm to push forward onto D, and with their advantage, if that push comes through successfully, that will definitely be definitely spell some trouble. But now SUNTZU is launching quite a big attack onto B. They have Snack, dogs and foxes and some cavalry around the watchtower area. And now this time they're not pushing through this narrow passage where these blobbed up spears are going to do so well. Just being disrupted here, or distracted here, by Hazardable Spearmen and an elephant, with a majority of the forces coming through around. There's a need of swords healing up in here. That will bring up 2 units, that is correct. But now they are sort of caught up out of position. If Quo can find some good charges in here, they can do really some nice damage. Quo can also block off these swordsmen if he has an oath available. And as long as these foxmen find a flank and combine with Quo's Warcry, that should spell a rout, and that is exactly what is happening. There we go, -6 morale. Those are not Vercingetorix Foxmen, so they cannot use Iron Discipline to prevent themselves from routing, but 3 units of Germanicus are on top of B now, and that's heavy infantry. It's not going to be removed quite easily. Another blob of Hannibal Spears is now going back to heal up, and Quo cannot really stop them as he's going to get routed. He'll need to retreat and wait for his unit to change its mind. And there we go, it did. And we have still quite a large force at C is being tied up. So the goal here, I would assume, isn't really to capture C, but just to keep those guys occupied, keep them defending, so that they don't go and reinforce B, which is looking quite alright for SUNTZU, but they absolutely cannot allow SUNTZU's Draconic Storm to heal. There's only 1 left, and Quo has opportunities to go and flank, find the flanks, but he also needs to cut down this unit, because as soon as he disengages, that unit stops routing. So after this unit is cut down, the Fox need to make their way over here. Quo is chasing them down, even through the stakes. That sacrifice needs to be done. Those spears cannot be allowed to heal. You know, that Germanicus unit managed to unroute itself but not after suffering a huge amount of damage. Now it pulls out, so there's only one unit left, and it is exactly at 0 morale, so that vengeance is going to be cancelled. Warcry for a good measure, just to make that route a little bit faster, to come through a little bit sooner, and now the healing zone will disappear together with maybe Quasi-Unit that is in Oath, but it's also being quite surrounded, although Andeli is there providing some support against his Hannibal Spears. But none of that really doesn't matter, because B has been captured by SUNTZU. So now they have the advantage of 3 points over 2, but they are quite some points behind. They're only at halfway through, so this Coinstram are already 2/3 through towards the victory. So it is going to be very, very close towards the end. Now the units are being chased down, that's good, they lose the XP, SUNTZU gets more XP for finishing off these units, and they have a healing zone pretty closely. So now, if you are sitting as the Coinstram, what do you want to do? Push D? Not really. It has been fortified with stakes and pikemen, and as you can see, they are extremely effective. You can defend this point with really minimal manpower, and you would need an overwhelming advantage to push through this. C, obviously, they have captured, so B is the only choice. Also, if you look at the healing zones, C healing zone can attack from this side and sort of deny this healing zone, as well as the base healing zone, which is now what they're massively using. You can push through this angle, and there's only one healing zone for SUNTZU in here at B. But that being said, it is the closest one to the point in question itself, so that gives them an advantage somewhat, as long as it isn't denied, because it isn't in a position that is quite safe. Safe would be around here or here behind the point, but it is in front of the point, so that it does make it quite difficult. That also opens an opportunity for SUNTZU to attack C, which at the moment they don't need, but contesting points may become necessary as the point advantage is still on the side of SUNTZU's Draconis. So now it will come down to whether one side can capture another point, or just for how long can they contest. So now SUNTZU, what they need to do is not fight SUNTZU's Draconis forces here on top of B, they need to fight them in front of B, which is what Fixin does. Sadly he blobs up, but then again it is a blobbed up phalanx, but when it comes to holding enemies away from your point, maybe it is better not to blob up, but then again, so did the enemies. So in this instance it is fine, but overall it may not necessarily be, and there's a lot of units of infantry coming from the side towards B. Elephant is being sent towards C to deny the healing, but nothing is really healing there. Another elephant to disrupt crossbowmen, technically a counter, in practice, not really. And now also under fire of those Ambiorix archers. And SUNTZU is also now fighting a push towards A. Jera is going to get here into quite a nice position. He is so last we can just fortify against Hannibal, and he should be fine. Also, he has 3 of his units coming in here, plus Max's pikemen. But Max's pikemen won't be really able to support him unless he just deploys those pikemen directly behind him and then just friendly fires. But as you can see, Sula can hold quite well against this, as long as strikes are involved, I guess, or flanks. We can see how that goes. And Max does deploy the pike phalanx. Given that Espada has pushed through quite further up, that's really well played by Cheddar and Max, as Max is just clearing up the rear of Cheddar, and Cheddar is taking care of those spears in the front as they are forced to retreat. And SUNTZU so far has been doing quite a good job at holding SUNTZU away from B. The point is not being contested, and the points are getting closer and closer with every second. Here, blobbed up spears versus blobbed up spears, but one of them is Hazardable Spears, the other one is Hannibal Spears, and Hannibal Spears win this sort of a trade due to how strong at Portas is, although they have already run out of it by now, but I'm sure it was being enabled at the beginning of this fight, as now it is surging towards the end. On the flip side though, SUNTZU has reinforcements because there's a healing zone here. Those Folksmen can be sent over here. Just use Hamstring, and then all those spearmen, at least as long as one gets to disengage, they can all just heal back up. Whereas, so this is the Consortium Spears, we need to run all the way back to the base, which is quite a bit further behind, further away. Now SUNTZU seizes control of the fort area, so they can launch an attack from to C or to A. At the moment, range support is being given to A, as Cheddar and Mishet are pushing there with their heavy Roman infantry. Blinton is trying a sneak attack around D, and so is 36, and there's only one of Max right now in here, and he's probably trying to bring back a unit of his. He's not. He has all three of his units, but maybe he expects one of them to die soon, and that is correct. So probably wants to just start bringing them as quickly as possible. He's already healing, but there will be 3 units on top of D, so he needs to get his ass on top of there as quickly as possible. And there's even 3 more coming from C. And at this crucial point, where points are literally even, if D gets captured, that spells disaster for SUNTZU. Max did manage to bring that one unit back that he must have lost over here. No, that one survived, so he must have lost another one somewhere else that I didn't notice. A is also being captured, but those spears can always just push back into it. And pikes should also have quite an easy time getting in, but the pikes are being dropped too early, and Max didn't walk on top of the point before it was flipped, so the healing zone has been denied, and the ability to capture A has also been denied, most crucially. So now these forces inside the fort are going to push into C, trying to get contention time in there. We have pikemen against Sula, and here Sula can hold them off for quite a bit, quite nicely, but he also cannot push through them really. Now attack on the healing zone behind C by Fixin, and so this is concerned being held quite far back as their own base at the moment. If the healing at the base is being denied, that would be immense, but I don't think that's going to go through. Dogs are obviously not controllable, so they can only deny 1 unit really, the one they caught aggro on, or even pull through, and this unit should be fine. And also by fighting here under the base, SUNTZU is giving the healing zone advantage to Citadel Concern, so they need to be wary of any possible counterattacks. Spada now recalling from A back to base, maybe they're preparing another huge push onto B, but he could have gone from here to D and maybe try to support that, especially given that SUNTZU do not have any healing zone in here, so they're just left with whatever they can master in here. Mishu is in a position to shoot those pikes in the back, but can C really be taken? Maybe he should reposition to go and support fight for D. For now, both teams are getting 2 points per second, as both control 2 points, and 1 point is neutral and contested, and it's only 30 points of difference between those two teams. Now Kwa should be able to finish off these dogs, and there's only 1 unit left on top of D. 2 units have spread out to try to chase down Arkin's javelins, and he's having none of it. Spreads out, he's gonna shoot down those spearmen as God intended, or as the developers intended. I don't know when you're as good as God. They need to be good, really. And Mishu still is supporting C, you know, just chilling. D is being taken back, so that should be a victory for SUNTZU, unless Citadel Concern can respond by taking B back. But even if they did, they would be quite behind in points, and they would need to invest into contesting some points. D will be locked, E is locked, so the only point they can really contest is B, and well, they need to capture it anyway, so that definitely would be hard. What they would need to do is clean SUNTZU out from C, but now 2 elephants are on top of there. Pikes are not in a very good position now to counter those elephants. His unit of pike should go down. As long as one of these elephants uses roar, they will rout, as long as obviously they don't have hold the line. And well, archers are in a position to do some damage in here, or at least allow these elephants to contest for as long as possible. Dogs are being sent against them now, so that will disrupt them. But we have 7 units in here now, 6 so there's a concern units, 3 blobbed up Hannibal Spearmen, whose outport has just expired, and Germanicus with Vengeance that has just been enabled, at least only 1 unit. But SUNTZU do have some forces of their own. It will take some time for them to die, but no reinforcements seem to be coming. Fixen is dead, so he can respawn over here. Fortsmen are incoming. But other than that, SUNTZU don't really have any other forces in this area. They are still contesting C though, and they can also send something to contest A. And if they do, and if they manage to do it successfully, obviously, then SUNTZU's Draconic Strarum will be earning 0 points per second, whereas for SUNTZU, E is permanently locked, D locked only for 10 seconds, but there's nothing from SUNTZU's Draconic Strarum that can be sent there to contest. That being said, B has almost been cleared. I think only that unit of dog handlers is still hanging there. The Foxmen have been pushed out and they're being cut down, and so are the dogs. They're just barely alive. Let's see, 11 soldiers. As soon as they drop to 10, get one flank, they're over, and B will not be able to be saved. Yep, it is being captured. Vixen has just now spawned. It took him quite a while. Koi is trying to heal. He did manage to heal. And Pardon, MVP, one soldier, still holding on to B to provide that healing zone so that it doesn't disappear and buy time for the cavalry to arrive. And the cavalry did arrive, but a little bit too late to prevent the point from being flipped. But it did prevent the point from being captured. And how this engagement would end, we won't find out because it's over. So GG to both sides, really close battle. And well, showing the nature of Dracovia, where it's really difficult to capture points. But both teams have come out with very nice maneuvers here and there. SUNTZU's Draconic Strarum betting quite heavily on going into C at the beginning, capturing and trying to lead from there. But SUNTZU, through, let's say, creative maneuvers, they feigned an attack on C, regrouped, pushed B, captured B, and then drove that advantage home because they managed to capture B early in the battle enough to come back from the deficit that they had. So, that was a really great battle, and now let's get to another one next week. See you there, commanders, as well as on arenas battlefields. Commanders. Yeah, 10 out of 10 intro. Outro.